Welcome to Groom Scroll. Bum, bum, bum. Like, you know what I mean? There should be like a little intro.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's going to be it. I'm just going to add some noise to it.
Oh my God. First of all, I have a pie in the oven, and in 18 minutes and 44 seconds, I will have to go get that pie out of the oven. So just full disclosure, I might have to do like a pause and run situation.
Pie time. What kind of pie? Tell me
It's a
about your pie.
It's a peach pie for my
Oh.
dad. Detective
Oh,
Sarah's dad's birthday is coming up, and he loves peach pie. And so I make him a peach pie every single year. And he is very lucky because his birthday coincides with Colorado peach season. So it's like,
yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. How sweet of you to make him a pie every year for his birthday.
yeah. And I did a little lattice work on this one this year, which I don't usually do. So
Ooh.
we'll see if it turns out. Yeah.
Take a picture and we'll put it on the Instagram.
Oh, there you go. Detective Sarah's dad's peach birthday pie. That should be the caption.
Well,
that's fine.
how's your pie?
She's got 1 minute and 32 seconds. So I'm
my
gonna
God. Okay.
maybe go check on her and be back.
How's she looking?
That pie is perfect. I'm gonna text you a photo because it is a beautiful pie. Diana, are you ready to talk about my all-time favorite childhood movie? Are you prepared?
I'm looking forward to this conversation because this movie is not what I expected. And I think it's going to lead to a bigger conversation about whether or not it is possible to separate the art from the artist. But I guess before we get there, hello, listeners. Here on Groom Scroll, on Blooming After Grooming, we're going to be talking about the 1986, I would call this a cult classic. Jim Henson production, Labyrinth. And George Lucas was also involved. This Groom Scroll suggestion came from my darling friend, Nikki, who I have talked about on the podcast. We were friends from elementary school till high school, and she moved away after our freshman year of high school. And I do remember when her talking about this movie so much when we were kids. So she reached out and she was like, I think this could be an interesting Groom Scroll episode, and kind of talked about her reasoning, and her reasoning being that it's kind of a story, or part of the story involves an older, kind of maybe creepy man luring a teenager. So thank you, Nikki, for the suggestion. And then I found out, Sarah, that is also one of your nearest and dearest movies to your heart and childhood memories.
It's true. I watched it like every single day obsessively as a child for a really long time. My poor family can confirm that as a fact. I was obsessed with it. Still kind of am. My studio door has Ludo with the door knocker in his mouth as a door knocker on my studio door.
I know what that means now.
Yeah. I have the pin with Sarah on it on my jacket. I am a big fan of Labyrinth. So when it got brought up as a suggestion for Groom Scroll, a part of me was all like, what? No, not my favorite movie. And then I remembered it got reissued into the theaters, I think last year, maybe the year before, just as an anniversary release of the film coming out. And we went to it for my birthday because it was coming out around my birthday. And we went and saw it in the theater, and it was after I had found you and had started processing everything. And it definitely hit a little different now than it had in the years past. And there was a part of me, it was like, God damn it. Like, is nothing safe? Is nothing sacred? But I don't know. I have been thinking about it a lot since you brought it up. Yeah, I feel like I can still like this movie, and I have reasons why I feel that way. But I am fascinated to listen to you, Diana, as a person who has never seen this movie, because I think it's always interesting when people watch movies that you grew up loving and they have absolutely no nostalgic attachment to it, and they're coming in cold, is always like really jarring, because people are usually like, what the fuck am I watching? It's like when you try to get someone to watch Goonies as an adult who's never seen Goonies, they usually don't like it.
Yes.
Because they don't have that emotional childhood connection to it. So I'm interested in how you felt watching the 1986 Labyrinth.
It was my first one of my first thoughts was, "This is very much a movie for kids," because it is so she is so dramatic. Sarah
Yeah.
is so dramatic from the beginning. She's wearing this, like, costume and reciting,
Mhm.
I think, a story that she has written, if I understood
No,
correctly?
she's got that little book at the beginning, the little red
Yeah,
book that she's,
and
like,
it's called
reading from.
Labyrinth, The Labyrinth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, which I
Okay,
think is, like, a separate thing because like, everything in
okay.
her because also, like, everything in her bedroom ends up being things that are in the labyrinth, so
Yes,
there's
I
kind of, like,
did
the
notice
whole
that.
fan fiction of, like, did she dream the whole thing and
Yes, I did. I noticed that that was pretty cool. I was like, "Oh wait, that's the stair poster." That scene was pretty neat. Yeah, so it just within like 15 minutes, the baby goes missing, so it's just
Mhm.
like it gets into it. So that was like, okay, it's a kid movie because you got to keep the kids' attention. And but I was, yes, as an adult watching this movie, I'm just thinking like, why is she so mad at Toby? Why is she screaming at Toby's face and like waiting so long? There got a point where I was like, "Why aren't you hugging this crying baby?" And then she ends up, like, picking him up and trying to get
Mhm.
him to shut up. And then she talks she's like, "I wish this goblin whatever would take you away," and then it happens, and then she's immediately like, "No." I as an adult, I think and I was trying to think, like, would I have liked this movie as a kid?
Mhm.
But even the songs, like, I don't understand what they're saying.
Oh,
So,
Diana.
I don't know. I could
Let me
not understand.
sing every single one of them
Please
to
do.
you right now. Backtrack. If you've never seen the movie Labyrinth,
Yes, what
the
is the
main
story?
the main character's name is Sarah, so that could be confusing since my name is also Sarah.
With an
Uh,
H?
yes, played by Jennifer Connelly, and she is in real life, she was 14 when they made this movie. She's young. And they never really say, but it definitely seems like her parents either got divorced or her mom passed away. They never really say, but she's living with her dad and her stepmom, and they have a new baby, and his name is Toby. And Sarah is not happy about any of this. Like, she is not having it. And the stepmom is like, "You always treat me like an evil stepmom in a fairy tale, and I don't know what I ever did wrong." And Sarah's slamming doors and being dramatic, which, let's be honest, is what 14-year-olds do. Like,
I
that's,
know.
you're
It
very
was
dramatic at
just so
14.
over the top. I'm like, "Oh, my
Yeah.
life is the worst. I hate
Have you
everyone. It's
have you
not
met a
fair."
14-year-old, Diana? That's kind of their vibe, dude.
I know. Okay, yes,
That's how
you're
I
right.
slammed a lot of doors when I was 14 and
Oh,
screamed a lot of stuff at people, and it was like, "You're ruining my life because I can't have pizza," or something, I don't know.
nope, was not allowed. Nope, no, we were not allowed to say any of that, so that's
Oh.
probably why I was dramatic internally and not.
Oh,
Oh, yes,
no.
no slamming of the doors in our
My
household.
mom did not care. She was like, "Whatever, as long as you're not burning the house down." That was kind of the rule. So
Mhm.
Sarah is left to babysit her little half sibling, Toby, and he is a bebe. He's just a little thing. And she randomly starts chanting or asking that the Goblin King come and take Toby away from her. And so far in the movie, it is just like normal world universe. And then all of a sudden it cuts to there's a bunch of goblins behind the mirror in this room. And it's like, did she say it? Which I love that part. The ones all like, did she say it? And they're like, shut up. I
Yeah.
can't hear her. God damn it. I love this movie. Anyways, then David Bowie shows up as the Goblin King and he takes Toby away into the labyrinth. And she suddenly is like, oh shit, that was a mistake. I need to go into the labyrinth and go save Toby. And that's how the whole movie kicks off. And the rest of the movie is just Sarah going through the labyrinth, trying to get to the center of the labyrinth, which is the Goblin City, which is where Jareth, aka David Bowie's character, lives. And he is holding the baby hostage. And the idea is that if he keeps the baby long enough, it turns into a goblin, which also implies that all of the goblins there are babies or children that he has stolen from other people,
I did not pick up on that.
which is pretty fucked up when you think about it. So, and then along the way, Sarah makes friends with a cast of characters. There's Hogglt, who is like a little, I don't even know what you would describe him as,
Isn't he also
guy.
a little goblin? He's not a
He's kind
goblin?
of he's goblin-esque. He's not really, well, goblins are all like they're pretty fucked up. He's halfway goblinized. And then
Okay.
Ludo,
He
who
had
is
a butt on him.
he
He got
did. He
some
has a
butt
bubble
cheeks.
butt. Yeah, he had a bubble butt. Ludo, who's like a giant furry, monster. And then Sir Didymus, who I also adore, who is a feisty little
Nice.
fox
Yeah.
who, lives in the bog of eternal stench, and he guards a bridge there. When I said that I
Okay.
know everything about this movie, I'm telling you, could talk about it forever.
Question though. Okay, so no, I
Mhm.
didn't realize that the whole idea is that if Jareth keeps Toby, the baby,
Mhm.
who's dressed like Where's Waldo, if he keeps him long enough, that the baby will turn into a goblin.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, why does he want the baby though? Like, is it just to have more goblins or
Well, because
like,
the A, he's evil, he's the bad guy. B, yeah, like, he is the goblin king, and so it's just more people that are, like, working for him because, late in the movie when Sarah and the gang ends up getting to the Goblin City, it's the goblins that he, like, activates to be like, "Go and fight them," like, they're his henchmen, so it's just like
mhm,
it's one more soldier in his army if he gets another child to be, like, a goblin in his
yeah,
or maybe he's gonna keep Toby to be an heir to the throne. I mean, I don't know what Jareth's long-term plan is,
okay.
you
As an
know?
adult, that's what I was wondering is like, why do you
Sure.
want this baby so much?
Yeah, I think it might be more just like, "I'm gonna turn into a goblin because that's what I do. Because that's why there's, like, the countdown clock. It's like if she doesn't get to
Mhm.
him in time,
Yes.
Toby turns into a goblin,
Okay.
is the way that I've always perceived it, I guess.
All right. Thanks for clarifying that to me. Yeah. So it was cool. It was definitely a cool movie to look at. Like, I really liked the hands, the way that the hands were also
Yeah.
like talking. That was super
Mhm.
cool. All the glitter was just, I mean, sorry, fish and turtles, but all the glitter was
I
amazing.
was so obsessed with this movie when I was a kid. I used to literally cover sticks in glitter and then put them on the sidewalk and then just run over them, like, while walking, pretending to be Sarah in that part where she is, like, running over glitter sticks.
We need to start like a list
Mm.
of all the things that all the beautiful ways Sarah's imagination made her either Catwoman, a jelly cat, not a jelly cat,
A
a
jelly
jellicle
cat,
cat,
a jellicle cat, a cat woman,
Sarah
uh,
from Labyrinth.
Sarah from Labyrinth jumping over glitter sticks. Yeah, it was before the internet. People we had to entertain
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah, it's a
Um,
beautiful movie and the like puppetry is super cool and the costuming is really cool. Yeah, I want to hear your questions. I feel like
okay.
I could talk for days, but I want to hear your questions.
My questions are or something else that I wanted to say is okay, so I was it was like halfway through the movie and I wrote down specifically it's about halfway through and I don't think he's being creepy yet. He's trying to keep her away because it
Yeah.
did seem like so I was this is what I meant by like, it's not what I was expecting because the way that Nikki was kind of talking about it and you as well when I brought up this movie doing it for Groom Scroll, I was expecting it to be like more obvious, like more in
Yeah.
your face that
Mhm.
he is trying to lure her and for him because he wants her because I've seen like the stills of her with Jennifer Connelly and that beautiful white dress and
Oh,
her
so
hair all
pretty.
gorgeous. Yeah, so I was thinking like, oh, well, maybe he's like trying to get her to be his bride. So that's what I was expecting. But like
Mhm.
it seems like throughout the whole labyrinth, he's trying to fuck it up. Like he's trying to keep her away. So that was very
Yeah.
confusing to me. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
No, yeah, because at first when you brought it up, I was kinda like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, that's not the vibe of this movie, and it really isn't until he gives Hoggle the roofie peach, which is really what that like, he gives her the poison peach. That is when it turns, and so it is interesting because the first half of the movie is very much him like, "Oh, you don't want this baby? I'll snatch this baby for you. Oh, you changed your mind? Cool, but you got fucking 13 hours to figure it out." And then, she keeps getting farther than he wants her to, and he's like, "Oh, you pestery little bitch. Like, I'm gonna keep throwing curveballs and making it more
Yeah.
difficult for you because I don't want you to come get this kid." And then
And
it
I think
feels
he
like
also sorry to interrupt you, but I think he's also a little like, "Oh, well, I'll show," because he's like, "What do you think of my labyrinth?" And she says, "Piece of cake," and then he, like, retaliates.
yeah.
So I think he's also a little threatened that she's not, like, afraid of him.
For sure. That's like the whole undertone of all of it is that like he is threatened by her power, right? Is that like she is not bowing down. She is not doing what he expects her to do and it's pissing him off. And it feels like that's when it kinda takes that turn as he has that meeting with Hoggle in that stone area where they, like, make David Bowie's face out of the stones, and then the stones move. Did you notice that?
That
That's
was
pretty cool.
super cool.
So they have that whole conversation where he is trying to pretty much have Hoggle help him stop Sarah from, like,
Mhm.
reaching the Goblin City, and he gives Hoggle a poison. It's not, they don't call it poison, it doesn't kill her, but, like, a magical peach, which I was talking to Carl, and I was like, "So he roofies her ass, essentially, because she eats it and she, like, blacks out."
Mhm,
And
and then
then
doesn't
that's
remember what
yeah,
she's
and
doing.
she doesn't know where she's at, she doesn't know what's going on, and she ends up in the ballroom scene, and I feel like that's when the vibe shifts pretty hard, and so it's that kind of question of, like, okay, he's trying to control her, he's trying to intimidate her, it's not working, and then he shifts gear into, "Fine, then I will make you catch feels for me." You know what I mean? It's like that's his next weapon is like, "Okay, I'm gonna make you, like, have
Ah.
romantic feelings for me, and then I'm gonna control you that way, because so far I haven't been able to control you by scaring you."
I wrote that note in my seriously, like, the next line is dash now the ballroom scene is a bit creepy,
Mhm.
because it did seem like it shifted because all of a sudden she's, like, mouth agape looking at him with these,
Yeah.
like, big eyes, like she's in love with him, and
Mhm.
it was so confusing. It was so confusing. I think the next thing I wrote is, "I don't understand what's happening in this movie." But it's like, what do you think that was intentional? Like, is it supposed to be that obvious of like, oh, he was at first that he's deceiving her basically? Like,
Yeah.
or are
Well,
people
yeah.
supposed to believe that he's also catching feelings?
No. I don't think you're supposed
Okay.
to believe he's catching feelings. That's my perception. Because, like, when he first comes and takes Toby, he is very much talking to her like a child, right? Like, he says, like, "I brought you a gift," and he shows her, like, the crystal ball, and he's like, "Go back to your room and play with your toys, and this is
Mhm.
a gift not for an ordinary girl, and do not defy me, you're no match for me." Like, that's the original kind of interaction they have, and then she repeatedly keeps getting farther through the labyrinth than he wants her to, and then that's when he's like, "What do you think of my labyrinth?" Like you said, she's like, "Piece of cake." And he's like, "Fuck you. I am going to chop you up or try to chop you up to pieces."
Yeah.
The cleaners. And so, like, that doesn't work. And then, yeah, I feel like then the next step is like him, like, "Fine, bitch. Like, fine, little schoolgirl. I'm going to get you to fall in love with me or catch feels for me. And then I can control you in that way, because it's not working trying to control you with, like, danger." And so, yeah, he, like, roofies her with a peach, and then she goes into this beautiful ballroom scene, which, may I say, as a child, I was just like, "Oh my
I
god, that
mean,
scene." Her dress is
yeah,
so beautiful. Her hair
her hair with
is
those, like,
so
silver
big.
leaves. Oh, it's
Ugh,
gorgeous. And then
and
he looks
he
good too.
is so David
He's got
Bowie,
a
he's
bulge.
looking dude, behind the scenes truth, he apparently put potpourri in that cod piece because they had a guy that would have to stand behind him with his arm through his armpit to do the ball, all the, like, trickery with the crystal balls when he would be, like, spinning them in his hand. David Bowie
Yeah.
couldn't do that. So they actually had a guy standing behind him with his head by David Bowie's crotch with his arm up, like, doing the hand thing. So David Bowie put potpourri in his cod piece as,
Oh,
like,
so it wouldn't
a
smell like
nicety. Yeah, so it wouldn't smell like butt, which I was like, "It's pretty nice."
that is nice. But
So
yeah, so they're both, cute, looking good. They're
they're
feeling
looking real good.
themselves.
And the music, oh my
Mhm.
god, it's all David Bowie music, and that song is very, like, one of the more romantic, yeah, it's all like, "And I'll be there for you as the world falls down." That's so good. God damn,
Mhm.
I love that part.
Mhm.
But that is definitely where it becomes, you're right, like, she's looking at him. She's like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And he is definitely, like, kind of hunting her through that dance scene. Like, it keeps showing him, like, looking at her from behind other people's, like, fans or peeking out at her, and it's very much that
Yeah.
she's kind of this lost lamb, and she doesn't know what's going on, and he's very much in control. And then they slow dance together, and they don't kiss, but I did look it up, and originally there was a kiss written into the scene, and David Bowie refused to do it because she was 14 at the making of this movie, and he thought that it was creepy and weird because he was 39 years old at the time, and they wrote it off of the script. So that scene could have been even more creepy than it now is. Uh, but then I also think it's really interesting because she's dancing with him and she's clearly mesmerized, but then the
Mhm.
spell breaks and she starts to realize that like she's not in a good situation and she doesn't want to be there. And she starts to come out of the fog and she like runs across the room and picks up a chair and breaks the wall, which is essentially like the bubble because they've like also been transferred into like a magical floating bubble that like this whole ballroom scene is happening in a bubble. So she literally like bursts a bubble and gets out of this like daydream that he has
Yeah.
created, which I think is really cool when you think about it. It's like he drugs her, he puts her in this La La Land fairy tale version, which is what you could argue grooming is, right? Of this like,
Mhm.
oh, it's romantic. Oh, we're meant to be together. Like it's this fairy tale. And she's like, fuck this shit. And like busts out of it and like breaks the spell for herself.
Yeah, because she wakes up and you see the peach kind of in her hand, and then she's
Yeah.
like, "What am I doing here? What was I do?" So
Yeah.
she does get out of it, but she still
Hmm.
doesn't know exactly, like,
Well,
what's going
she
on anymore.
Yeah, because then she kind of forgets where she's at all and, like, forgets about
Mhm.
Toby, like, she forgets all of it, and that's when she ends up in that, like, junkyard with the, like,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
crazy
yes!
junk lady, which I think is, like, such an interesting part as well. Because like, to me, that part is very much, like, her sloughing off childhood, you know what I mean? Because it's, like, this little lady being like, "Don't worry about it. Just go back into your bedroom," which is exactly what
Mhm.
he tells her to do at the beginning of the whole
Yeah,
thing, is go to your room and play with your toys.
and she's like, "You
And
love your things. Do you like this? Your panda. You like these things."
yeah, and she's, like, literally piling her childhood toys onto her and trying I think it's such an interesting mix of, like, consumerism messaging and childhood messaging. Because at some point, Sarah's like, "This is all just junk. Like, I don't need
Mhm.
this. Like, this is just garbage," and she, like, kicks it all off, and then the room collapses, and she, like, escapes out of that, and it's like, again, I think it's just this idea of over and over and over, like, the Labyrinth and Jareth, who run the Labyrinth, are, like, trying to take her power away from her and, like, trying to contain her and trying to make her be small and make her be a child and, like, keep her in her place. And she
Yeah.
keeps, like, breaking out of it repeatedly.
And then she does eventually confront Jareth, and he starts saying things like, "Haven't I been so generous to you? Everything
Mhm.
you've asked me to do, I've done." He's offering her her dreams. He says to her, "Fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave." I have a note. Where is this coming from? The way you're explaining it now makes so much more sense. Again, I didn't understand that he was just like shifting tactics. I was like, at what point did he fall in love with her? But that's not what happened. But yeah, the words, the things that he was saying to her at the end, it was reminiscent to me of something that an abuser would say, that they do
Mhm.
say. So then she's trying to remember that line that she couldn't remember at the very beginning. And when she says, "You have no power over me," and then he turns into bed sheets, everything she gets Toby back and everything goes back to normal. And then, like, at the very last scene, she is with, her friends, like all
Mhm.
the crew that she met along the way. And I thought that was, yeah, I guess it made me feel better with the movie because I think that is also saying she is still a kid. Like, she's not an adult now. Like,
Yeah.
yes, she learned some responsibility. There's that scene where I forget at one point, but it's towards the end where she says, where someone says, "It's not fair," and then she repeats, "That's the way it is," and she kinda has this moment of like, "Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I get now why adults say that to me when I
Yeah.
say it's not fair." So you can see that she is finding her power and she's learning lessons and she's growing as she's going through this labyrinth to repair the mistake that she made by wishing
Mhm.
her brother be taken away by a goblin king. But at the core of it, she's still a kid, and I like that it ended that way where she's celebrating with I do. I think as what you're saying is with like the old lady who's got all the baggage on her, the luggage
Yeah.
on her, that all the different characters are parts of her, parts of Sarah, um, that she's now embraced.
Yeah, and I think It is just it's funny because I feel like 90% of the movie is just about, like, friendship and, like, wacky hijinks, and then the Jareth story is just kind of because he's really only in 3 or 4 scenes of the movie, like, really, long scenes. There's a few, like, short ones with him in there, but, like, he's not a huge aspect of the film. But, yeah, like, it really once he gets to the ending part, so she makes it to the Goblin City with her crew, and I also like the part that, like, when she goes to finally, like, face Jareth, she's like, "I have to do this alone. Like, I have to go do this part by myself." And it always gets me when they're all like, "Should you need us?" Like, "We're here for you. We're
Yeah.
like, you're your friends." And I also think that that's a good, like, cool messaging of just like, your friends will help you through heavy shit and your friends can like be there for you. But like, yeah, there are certain aspects of things you're gonna have to like face on your own and you're gonna have to like go and do by yourself. And then, yeah, when they have their meeting in the MC Escher staircase room, which I was obsessed with as a child also when he's, like,
It's
stepping
such a
over the
cool
edges.
scene.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. But, yeah, I mean, everything he's saying there, even, like, when he's like, "Your eyes can be so cruel just as I can be so cruel," and it's, like,
Mhm.
just this idea of, like, we're equals, you're just as dangerous as I am, which is super abuser messaging. And then, she sees Toby and she ends up just jumping for him and taking like a huge like, leap of faith to try to like catch him. And that like destroys the labyrinth because in the next scene it's just like all of the stones are just like floating and they're kind of in this like non-existent void of feathers and fabric and floating stones, you know, which to me is just like, yeah, like she's now destroyed this like fake world that he created to try to like control her, which to me is like a very visualization of the idea of kind of like breaking away from an abusive situation of like you're destroying the fairy tale that this person has been trying to like cultivate. Yeah, and he blames her. He says, "Everything I done for you." "Oh, you cowered before me. I was frightening." Is like so
Mm.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
you decided I was a bad guy, so I was a bad guy because you like labeled me as one is like so red flaggy. I'm exhausted from living up to your expectations of me. And
That
it's just
down
very
too.
yeah, and it's just very clear that, like, he is losing his grip on her and he's anxious, and I can even feel like I think David Bowie did a good job acting in that scene of, like, his face is very different than in the rest of the movie, like, he looks more nervous and, like, a little bit more,
Desperate.
like, desperate than he does in the rest of the
Yeah.
movie, and then, yeah, and I think in that moment when she says, "You have no power over me," the look of his face of just like, "God damn it." Like, he just looks like, "Son of a bitch. I just wasted 13 hours for nothing trying to control this girl." Yeah, I think it's super interesting because when I watched it in the theater a few years ago, there was a part of me that felt very like, God, I was so obsessed with this movie growing up. And I still ended up being groomed and abused by an older man when I feel like there's such strong messaging in this movie about like, don't like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, don't eat the poison peach, don't go down the rabbit hole with this guy. And it kind of bugged me when I first watched it of that feeling of like, oh, I'm so stupid. Like I missed the message. And then like rewatching it for this episode, I felt like I had a little bit more grace for myself and I felt a little bit different towards the movie because I felt like, okay, but the messaging of the movie is that like she did have the power the entire time
Mhm.
and she just needed to reconnect with it and know it and own it. And she like got what she needed in the end, right? Like she got away from this person, she got, whatever. And I don't know, I feel different about it now. Like I feel more like, okay, I don't feel like this movie is like pro groomer. I just feel like as a child, I, understandably probably drank more of the Kool-Aid about the part of like the fairy tale and the pretty dress and the hair because that's what you're going to do when you're 5 years old. You're not really picking up on the like deep messaging about female power. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a movie that I feel like tried to do one thing, but then maybe got absorbed in a different way by a generation of young kids.
Well, and I feel yes, because I think the people who I've talked to about this movie, the women particularly, things that I've heard. I mean, David Bowie's character Jareth is kind of, loved. Like people like him. People think
Yeah.
he's so hot, and he's kind of idolized. And I'm trying to think like if I was a kid watching this movie, I probably would have had a crush on him too. Like, I I mean, if this is coming from the bitch who watched The Ring and then wanted to be a journalist, okay? Like, at, like, the age of 13 or something.
Yeah,
So, I think it is hard when you're a kid to pick up on those messaging. I mean, I think
yeah.
that's the hope, right? That's the hope with any kid children's books or kids show is that kids are subconsciously picking up on the theme or the
Mhm.
the messaging of whatever the media is. But kids also they don't have that prefrontal cortex yet.
Yeah,
They're just like, ooh, fun songs and cool puppets and pretty colors and big
yeah,
neat effects. So I'm glad you don't feel upset with yourself or shamed or embarrassed or anything anymore about that. And I don't think it's a bad movie at all. Like visually, it's amazing.
mhm.
The songs, even though I can't understand what they're saying, they are catchy. I did feel like the one with like the campfire and like those stringy, like
That
weird looking
one
people with
comes off
it.
like a little borderline racist now. I feel like the
Yes,
voices yeah, the
yes,
voices are a little
that's what I was
unfortunate.
gonna
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I think there's a lot of talent, I think, in the movie, and I don't think it's like a movie yeah, and I wouldn't be like, "Oh, that movie's so fucked up or it's so creepy." I j do think that we should talk about David Bowie and you saying that I didn't know that he had refused to do the kiss, and that
Mhm.
does give me a little bit more peace of mind after doing some research about what the accusations were because I know you had mentioned that when we were talking about doing this movie for Groom Scroll, and I wasn't familiar with any of it. So he died, I think, in 2016, and then I think
Yep.
the next day is
Mhm.
when Thrillist published an interview done by Lori Maddox where she said that she lost her virginity to him, and the articles that I was reading, which I will put in the show notes. It was kind of more about like whether or not her story is credible, and I don't think that, that's not where like where my curiosity about the whole thing
Yeah.
is. I think I was feeling like people make mistakes and in the 70s that was the culture. Like that's what
Mhm.
society it was acceptable to have teenage groupies and like
Yeah.
it's almost like a trophy, like a badge of honor. And then guess what? Society decided that that's fucked up and we changed the way we think. Some
Yeah.
people have been able to apologize and own up to their shit, but David Bowie he died. So like the fact that he wasn't able to respond to Lori Maddox and uh I forgot the other woman's name. I wasn't sure how to feel about that, but knowing that he refused that kiss, I think for me, it feels like at some point he kind of realized he was able to see kids
Y
for what they are. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing about David Bowie specifically is that yeah, those allegations came out after he passed. So, and I don't know, maybe they came out earlier and it wasn't as publicized, but I don't know that he ever publicly like responded to any of those allegations. But he was also very open about heavy, heavy drug use to the point of he has multiple albums he didn't remember recording because he lost years of his life to heavy drug use. Not that it fucking excuses it, but I think there is just that question of, yeah, the time period, the culture, the environment, heavy drug use. And so I think it's just an interesting question in general because it was a fucked up time, and, there was just a lot of craziness happening. Elvis and Priscilla,
Mm,
she was 14. Fucking Anthony Kiedis right now, God damn it, is dating a, like, 19-year-old, which is fucking
that's
disgusting and
disgusting.
upsetting. The point is, there are a lot of these stories, and I think it brings up a bigger conversation, which is can you separate the art from the artist? I think we all struggle with this because how do you can you? Should you? Where's the line? Because unfortunately, if we only consume art that is made by people whose moral compass is 100% aligned with ours, I don't think we'd be absorbing any art.
As we've said, we're not perfect. We make
Mhm.
mistakes. I have fucked up. I've said things either when I was a kid or in my early 20s or maybe last week, like everyone makes mistakes. And yeah, I think having this stance of, oh, I'm never going to listen to a song by someone who that sets up, like, I think, an unrealistic expectation for yourself. I think it's fair to ask artists and other people in the media to think about what they say, and think about, like, the mistakes that they've made, and give them an opportunity to make things right. I think that's fair to expect people to do better,
Yeah.
especially people who have such a platform. And that's something that one of the articles that I was reading mentioned, is that it's also easier for society, for culture to, like, just not forgive artists who maybe don't have as much of a reach or influence,
Mhm.
but it makes it hard for someone like Michael Jackson, for people to, like, fully cancel him, right? Like, that's never going to happen. He is a global
Yeah.
icon. I don't know. I don't know if enough about that case to 100% say what I feel one way or the other, but I'm like, 90% I believe that he molested children and sexually abused
Yeah.
children. So yeah, I think it gets harder when the person in question has left such an impact on society and culture. And yeah, we were we were talking to someone recently who said something that I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But looking at them as, like, a whole person, they have
Mhm.
done years, decades of good work that has saved lives. So, I think it's a personal thing. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it really depends. It depends. Like everything in life, people, it
Yeah.
depends. And it all goes back to, I think, you as an individual and your values, and where you're willing to stand your ground, or have
Mhm.
draw a line, where you're willing to draw a line. Like for me, I cannot listen to Marilyn Manson anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I do not like it. I do not like listening to him. and
Mhm.
and I was a fan of Marilyn Manson since I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
But for me, that's a line that I've drawn. But, like, there's other artists, I'm sure. I still watch Harvey Weinstein movies. The Weinstein Company put out some good movies,
I know, dude. You can't cut all the Weinstein movies out. You wouldn't get to watch like half of the movies we grew up watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting debate because, I think there's some I can't remember who it is, but there's some stand-up comedian that's like it's like a comedian and I can't remember who it was, but he was like, "Oh, so you don't listen to R. Kelly anymore, but motherfucker, you gonna stop listening to Michael Jackson?" It's like, no, you're not, because his music is better. And that's your line in the sand. That's like one is easier to walk away from than the other. I think, yeah, it's kind of that whole picture. And I also think there's a difference between somebody who was doing fucked up shit in their drug-addled youth versus somebody who systemically continued to be a piece of shit their entire lives. I have the expectation of people to be perfect, but I think there's a difference between making mistakes and being a lifetime predator or being a
Yes.
repeated, and unfortunately I feel that way, like, and this is a hot take because I live very close to Minnesota, but Prince is problematic as fuck, dude. Like, he, in relation to women, bad news bears. Like, there's a lot there, and it's one of those things again where I think people, they're very like, well, I don't listen to Michael Jackson anymore. Like, I think that's such an easy one for so many people because and I agree. I do think that he probably did abuse children. I 100% think that makes sense. But then when you bring up Prince, they're always like, "Well," and it's like, dude, there's a lot of women that came forward about some fucked up
Yeah.
shit that went down with him and that he was abusive. And, he had a what was her name? Métis Garcia. He started a relationship with her when she was 16. And much like Elvis, they like claimed that nothing happened until she turned 19. And it's like, dude, she like lived with them. Like, bullshit, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
And then there was other women that he was with, who would talk about how he like demanded that they sleep with full hair and makeup on just in case he wanted to have sex with them, and made them sleep in separate rooms, and like they had just be on his beck and call. Like, it's some troubling shit.
Hmm.
And not to say that you can't enjoy Prince, but like I think it's when people have that, like, you can't, like, they're trying to tell other people what they can and can't listen to. And I think you're right. Like, it just comes down to what you're comfortable with. And I think it's just an unfortunate reality of like you have to hold space for all of that at the same time. Like, I like Michael Jackson's music and I enjoy listening to it. But when I hear it, I also have to like take a moment to remember the people that were negatively impacted by him. and the
Yeah.
reality of that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too because there was Michael Jackson playing at my brother-in-law's pool party over the weekend,
Mhm.
and every again, like there's something too about the community that some of these songs or movies or books or whatever that it creates, and like a
Mhm.
lot of good that comes out of that, of like finding your people
Mhm.
um and yeah. Ugh, fuck. You had said something.
Now, like, going back to David Bowie. So, one of the women that had come forward and said that she lost her virginity with David Bowie when she was, like, 14 or something, a lot of people then were like, "Oh, you were victimized." And she was like, "No,
Mm.
I was into it. I wanted it. I'm still happy about it. Like, I'm proud that this thing happened." And a lot of people were being like, "No, you're a victim," which I think brings up a whole other interesting bag of cats of like, can you force somebody to view themselves as a victim in a situation they don't view themselves as a victim within? Because, like, another example is Juliette Lewis, the actress, dated Brad Pitt. She was 17 and he was 27 years old. And she still this day is just like, "Oh, he was a great guy." And that some people are all like, "Brad Pitt's a pervert." And it's like, well, can you force somebody to view that experience as a negative when they don't view it as a negative?
I will answer that, but I remembered what I wanted to say before, so I'm gonna write that down.
Okay. Yeah, you go back to what you were gonna say.
Ah, Sarah. I just forgot it again.
Sorry. You were gonna write it down.
I was.
Mm.
Oh, yes, taking time to reflect, taking time to reflect. That's tricky because, I mean, bitch, this is gonna be my answer to everything. It depends. That's what I learned in counselor school. That's the answer to fucking everything is it depends
Yeah.
because where is that line? Where is
Yeah.
that line of someone who is still drinking that Kool-Aid and who is making excuses for
Mhm.
someone who abused who did, I mean,
Mhm.
they abused their position. They what's that term? Undue influence. Like when there is
Mhm.
that age gap difference, 27 and 17, that's a lot. It's not like 17 and
Yeah.
22, you know?
Yep.
That maybe that's even too much. But there is that undue influence of like someone who just has that much more life experience. They're going to influence someone who is younger than them. And I don't know, I think it does get complicated because it really is dependent on the individual to either like self-identify as a victim or a survivor or neither, so
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, I would personally never be like, you have to see yourself this way. I would hope that maybe the person would get there, like, because both things can be true at the same time. Like for Lori Maddox or whoever the woman was who said that she lost her virginity to David Bowie when she was 14 or 15 and doesn't have any regrets, and it was a good experience for her. Okay, that's true, but it's also true that he did take advantage of a teenager
So
and
Lori
holding
Maddox,
space for both.
she's an interesting story because she went as Sable Star. Wait, is that the same person and had a threesome? Oh, no. So Sable Star was another, they called them baby groupies at
That's
the time.
disgusting.
Yep, it is. So Sable Star was supposedly in a threesome with Lori Maddox. Lori Maddox was 15. Lori was 14 at the time, and Sable Star was 15 at the time. Sable Star also said that she slept with the guitarist of the band Spirit when she was 12 and that she slept with Iggy Pop when she was 13. So, like, this was like a whole world. Like, have you ever seen Almost Famous? And they got the
Yeah.
Band-Aids? Like, that was that what this group was based off of is these like baby groupies. And that brings up a whole other interesting aspect of it, right? Is like you have created your own little culture where it's like
Mm.
this gaggle of gals, I don't know, like a group where this is your goal is to party and have sex with rock stars. Like that is your goal. So then I think the power dynamic is interesting. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying like it brings up an interesting question of if this was a pack of young women that were like, this is our goal. And then the men in that situation were like, I am going to take advantage of my power and take advantage of this position I'm in. And these girls are here and they want this. Let's fucking go. where is the responsibility of that? Like, where does it lie? Like, I just think it's so much different than, like, real world, right? Like, it just doesn't feel like real world. Like, it feels like a whole other
Mm,
universe when you're talking about 1970s tween groupies who are traveling around the country with rock stars and not going to school and doing drugs and having sex with them when they're 12. Like, it's just not, it doesn't feel like the world that anybody lives in.
well, and because most of us don't, but I don't know, I think fuck, like, I would fucking hope, and I'm naive as hell. I would like to believe that even in the 1970s, a 25 and older have sex, rape a 12,
Mhm.
13, 14-year-old. Like, 12 is so young. And yeah, so I don't know. I feel like we can only blame the culture and society at the time, only so much, but it
Mm.
is also, I don't want to undermine it because we are social creatures and what we
Yeah.
do as a collective is what we accept. And if that's what was happening and no one thought it was that big of a problem, if that's all you know, how do you, until you know better, then you do better.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to just the idea of, like, kind of a pack mentality. It's like if you've got one baby groupie, right, who's like, "This is what I wanna do," and then she starts normalizing it for the other girls. It's just it's like such a snowball effect of toxic environment going on because you also have, like, other females reinforcing the behavior, and it would and that so then it's like everybody's grooming everybody, right? Like, everybody's
Mhm.
normalizing it and everybody's saying it's okay. That's such a specific place and time that I think is very interesting to consider and think about, that I feel like feels grayer area for a lot of people, and maybe it's just because we all like their music, and then we don't really wanna, like, think about it, like, I don't know. Yeah, it is just complicated, and I think it is one of those things where it is hard to separate the person from the art, but then so often we don't wanna do it when we really like the art, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what I was getting into, and I was talking about creating community and Michael Jackson and all that stuff, was that I like what you said about how sometimes, yeah, listening to a song, a Michael Jackson song, and then just acknowledging that there were people that he harmed. I mean, I really think that that's for me, that's how I have been approaching it. I think
Mhm.
because I still hear, where was I? I don't remember where I was, but, a P. Diddy song came on, and I was like, "Really?" Especially with everything going on recently, like, this is still on someone's playlist in a restaurant or whatever, and then I was thinking, like, the whole idea I was thinking about this whole idea of, like, whether or not you can separate the artist from the art, and I was thinking, like, maybe my solution is just gonna be to have, like, a moment, a reflective second or 2 to just acknowledge that the artist did some fucked up shit. Like, yes, they
Mhm.
created this thing that now I wanna, like, move my body to, but also they made some big mistakes, and who knows, maybe they
Mhm.
haven't owned up for it. Yeah, I don't think the answer, which I think a lot of people do, is to just be like not even be willing to acknowledge it or recognize that it is a truth. Um, I think that can be frustrating, but I'm not one to not call things out, so and I think that it can make people around me, uncomfortable, but that's always the side that I kinda lean on is don't be afraid to acknowledge it out loud because I do think that most of what we've talked about on this podcast, unless it is being put out there and spoken into existence and acknowledged, I mean, that's that's what just keeps protecting people who do repeatedly make
Yeah.
mistakes, or just don't own up to mistakes that they have made.
So,
Okay.
again, it goes just back to the idea of like, have you learned? Have you started to do
Yes.
better? No. Okay. Then that might be a little bit different.
Then all right. Well, would you recommend a labyrinth?
Labyrinth? Girl, any
I
day,
know this
all
answer.
day, every day. Yeah, I love it. The part where the dog's going over the stones and the stones are farting and the bog of eternal stench makes me
Mhm.
laugh every single
Yeah, yeah.
time. Yeah, I would. Diana, A, who is your favorite character in the movie?
My favorite character in the movie was probably the worm.
Oh, come inside and meet the
Uh-huh.
missus.
And have some tea or something. I like
Yes.
the worm. I did also really like the little feisty fox,
Oh, Sir
um,
Didymus is a
Sir
hoot and a
Didymus.
half.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We quote him a lot in our household. Carl's a big fan of Sir Didymus. He's just so delusionally confident. It's
Yeah,
really delightful.
it's quite
Um,
inspiring.
yeah. And would you suggest Labyrinth to anyone?
I would. I think if I did show it to kids, I would have a conversation about why Jareth is not sexy. I know that if I had seen this as a kid, I probably also would have been like, "Oh my god, he's so hot and this is so
Mhm.
romantic and this is cool." So yeah, I would probably if I showed it to any kids of any gender, I would just maybe have some discussion questions afterwards.
Yeah, a
But
little
yes,
disclaimer.
it is a fun movie. Um, oh, I also now understand the phrase "babe with the power." That is one
Is that
of
a thing
my
people say to you?
it's I fucking wish. No, one of my fellow derby skaters, that's their derby name is Babe with the Power, and we call her Babe. So
Oh,
now
man.
I did find a sticker one time that said Babe with the Power, and I got it because I was like, oh, this is actually maybe a thing. And now I get where it's from. It's only taken me 35 years.
You gotta learn you gotta learn the rest of it. Your team member will be very excited if you can do the whole babe with power. What power? Power of voodoo. Who do? You do. Do what? My Mela babe. Bow now. I saw my baby. God, that song's so good.
And he's dancing with the baby too. I was very confused about that song. I was like, is he singing about this baby or about Jennifer Connelly being the baby or just like a nothing? No, just a baby? I don't know.
Diana,
It's
sometimes you
fun.
have to
It's fun.
just surrender to the magic that
I
is
know.
Jim Henson and David Bowie. I
I
also
have a
love in
hard
that
time.
part when the baby clearly turns into a really cheap baby doll and he's like throwing it
And
up
he's
and the
throwing
arms are
it.
like its head's
Yeah.
flinging around. Oh, it's so funny. Oh my god. As always, feel free to reach out with questions, comments, suggestions. Do you have any favorite childhood movies that you would like to dissect as we did today? But yeah, if you want to find us, we are on Instagram and TikTok at Blooming After Pod. We are at bloomingaftergrooming.com. Or
Nope.
email us. Nope. What?
It is not bloomingaftergrooming.com. It is bloomingafterpod.com.
Girl.
Bloomingaftergrooming at
This is why I make you
gmail.com.
do this part.
I would say everyone just go to our website, bloomingafterpod.com, and you can find everything we're talking about on that website, along with some resources and episodes. And yes, engage with us on the social media. Are you a millennial who grew up having a crush on Jareth? What do you think about it now? Let us know what you think about Labyrinth. And thank you for listening. And we will have one more Groom Scroll in this what we're calling season one, and I think it'll be a nice way to tie everything full
Mhm.
circle bow is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, good job. You said it. All right. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Come back next time.
Sarah, before we begin, I need to let you know I do change my clothes.
I wasn't gonna say anything yesterday when you were wearing the same shirt. I was like, that girl has been in that shirt for 2 days and now 3 days.